afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's good to be here, and thanks very much for joining me this afternoon in the Ceilidh Cabin for today's Blethers. And today we have Peter Wood, which I'll introduce you very shortly, but I'll play a quick tune in the meantime. There you go, the Ceilidh Cabin jig there to commence the start of another afternoon here in the Ceilidh Cabin. So I'm just going to get the right pictures up in front of me here, and we will endeavour to introduce Peter into the show. So let me just do that now. Peter, are you there?
How are you?
Not bad. Oh, 2 seconds. I'll just turn you on. I can hear me coming through your speakers. I'm not sure if you've. It's an unusual phenomenon to hear myself twice, but hopefully it's all right. Not coming through the other side too much.
Hold on.
Well, thanks for joining me today. How are you?
Is that any better?
Oh, that's it. I think maybe.
Yeah.
Hang on 2 seconds to see if
If I
there's.
stick some headphones on, you won't hear me coming that way.
I'll just make sure. Oh, maybe it's my own fault. Hang on. Oh, that's it. It's gone now. It was me. It was my own fault. So you can take them off again if you want.
All right, okay.
So, cool.
Perfect.
Right. The box is down.
There we are. Is that okay?
Yes, we're fine now. Yes, it was my
Yeah.
own fault. I do apologise. I'm trying to do too many jobs at once.
Well, that's what we are. We're musicians. We have to multitask, don't we?
I could do with a producer or something. Or at least someone to make my coffee. I had to trying to walk down the icy path on the way down to the studio.
That's music stardom. That's music stardom.
We're here. We've made it. We've made it to the.
That's all we can do. That's all we can do.
Yeah, so it's good to have you here. Do you want to play a tune first, and we'll get settled in, and I'll make sure everything's working, and
I could do.
We'll see where we go from there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to start off today with a couple of 6/8 pipe marches that I've composed. That's in my new book, Volume 2, that you haven't got yet.
Yeah, I've been waiting for it for like 10 days now.
No, I posted it. But I'll have to post you another.
Surface mail, is it?
Don't worry, I'll fill the envelope with CDs and things for you.
Yeah, a compensation.
So this is 2 6/8 that I wrote. The first one's called Hamish Will of Ballinluig, and the second one's called John Mackenzie's March to Dunrossness. So a couple of wee 6/8s and see how they go. Cool.
Ah, a bonny couple of tunes there. So, what are the stories behind those?
Well, the story. Hamish Will was born in lockdown. Hamish is the nephew of Ross McNaughton that I present Tartan Tunes show with.
Okay.
And host it with. So that's Hamish. John Mackenzie's matched in Dunrossness. John Mackenzie's the janitor at Dunrossness School.
I'm struggling to hear you a wee bit.
A long time, and I wrote him this wee tune last year. I think it was to do with us marching up with a pretend galley for the children to burn it up early that time. And the wee idea with that one was I wrote that second one. It's on E minor.
Okay.
And you don't really get that many pipe tunes on E minor, especially 6/8 marches and things. You know?
Yeah, no, it's quite unusual.
Tend to sit in there. The only one I can think of really is like say the Little Cascade. Of course, that sits on the E minor. And
there's quite a few reels that sit nicely up there, but not many marches. So that's quite cool.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so it's good. Nice. So and obviously I played the pipes first. I started pipes when I was 7. So that's when I started learning pipes with bigger pipe band.
Okay.
Down in the Borders. And that's where I went to school. And then the accordion came along when I was about 12. But played with quite a few pipe bands over the years and done quite a bit of competing. I went from bigger to Colburn pipe band. It was a grade 3 band. And then I progressed up to Scottish Gas Caledonia. That was a grade 1 band at the time. And I played with them for a couple of seasons. And then went back to Colburn and then moved north to Shetland, where there's just not so much piping at all, to be honest. And I did about 8-9 years ago, I'd done a season with one of the Orkney bands, the Stromness pipe band, and we'd done a wee bit of competing, but it's very difficult to get away to competing Saturdays, and you maybe on at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning competing, and getting away for Shetland, you nearly had to leave on the Thursday, to make sure you were there in time.
Yeah, it's kind of an occupational hazard when you live on an island, especially as remote as the ones up the north.
That's right. Yeah.
Even if I think if a pipe band was right on my doorstep, I would still find it quite a challenge to keep up with the commitment of everything you need to do, especially on a voluntary basis.
Well, that's the thing with the pipe bands. They are just all voluntary, and we've had some really interesting discussions with a lot of pipers and things this year, and so I had Bob Worrell over in Canada that presents the World Championships on the BBC news programmes and things. And we're talking about, wonder what this is going to be like, because there's an awful lot of the guys have got out of the habit because they've had no competition seasons. Some of them haven't had their pipes out for ages, some of these top guys that are playing, So it's going to be really interesting for the pipe band world to see, because I still follow it very carefully, who's winning and who's doing this. And but it's going to be quite difficult for a lot of guys because they've found out things like, going fishing or spending time with the family was quite good fun. Because it is an absolute obsession, pipe bands, and as you say, it's for nothing. It's absolutely for nothing. So. But if there happens to be a championship that does go ahead this year, I'm going to put my money in the New Zealand bands because they've been able to practice. Nobody else has.
No, it's they've definitely kind of done the right thing down in that.
Yeah, they've got that.
No, it's I mean, it's really difficult to know what to do, and it's maybe, dare I say, not just the pipe bands that might suffer, but also any kind of band really, because I mean I've seen my bandmates twice since March last year, and although we managed to scrape together a gig in December in Forres, with a socially distant gig, and it was tremendous, but we were literally just remembering each note as they were coming, because we just didn't, the material that we'd played, 4 or 5 nights a week for 8 or 9 years. Obviously, it evolved over time, but it just wasn't at the front of your brain anymore. It's
you have to think about it.
And it's just got to work together.
I haven't seen the lads for well, I mean, maybe seen them, but we've never played or anything like that for nearly a year now. In fact, this is the 13th today. It's a month today. The 13th of March next month is when I started playing the Tunes in the House thing. And so that's at a year old. That's the first year anniversary coming up with that one. So.
Yeah, I can't remember the date we started this, but yeah, it's kind of far off. Wasn't far behind you. But yeah, we literally, I mean, we had our engagement party on the 7th of March or something last year.
Yeah.
And it was the kind of last gathering that we could have possibly had. It was just
so unfortunately, I haven't seen the boys. We did have an album. We had recorded most of it just before the first lockdown. So we managed to. Well, we just kind of put it on hold for a while because we thought, but it seemed to go on longer and longer. And then Arthur, the guitar player in the band, he had recorded it all, and it was still just his part was to go on the guitar. So he took it home in the end, and he sat and put all the guitar parts on at home. And then we got it mixed and sent out to Dennis and Sky, and he mastered it and things, and then got it done through Burnham and got it out. So we managed to get that one out about November time there. So that was the newest album. The newest album that one there, Stepping Up.
Stepping Up.
So we managed to get that one out. So
you can get that at peterwoodmusic.co.uk, isn't it?
Yeah. Just pop on and see what we've been up to. And but it's let me do a lot of things in the year. I mean, I had all these tunes, and I'd always meant to get books out and things, and never done it. But it's been an exceptionally popular year for books coming out, right enough. I think a lot of people have thought the same thing. But I still needed that wee push from my wife Karen to say, "Go and get this done at last, would you please?" So, and it came about fortunately across the internet. I actually got in touch with Davey Hunter. There's all the books and pipes, and he took over, and he made it exceptionally easy to do it after that. So we got the St Ninian's Collection Volume 1 came out in September, and then Volume 2 came out about a fortnight ago.
Okay.
So and I've got enough for Volume 3 and 4, but I'm not going to pest the people just too much. I think we'll leave it at that for a while.
You've got to stagger it a wee bit. Let people learn this one first, and then
see what happens. So, but there's about 60 tunes in each book, so you can get them on the same website, Peterwood Music.
Yeah, I'm quite looking forward to the second book because I've got the first one, and there's been 2 or 3 tunes that I've taken from it,
Right.
And I would like to do more, but it's just time and the whole format of request shows generally doesn't lend itself to learning the tunes that I want to learn. I love all this stuff and the material that people have asked for over the
absolutely, and when
99% of it anyway.
Yeah, and new material coming out is going to, of course, it's not as well known. So with a request show, you're going to get asked for stuff that people know, obviously, and feel comfortable with. So. And to be honest, myself, when I play a lot of the old traditional stuff and all that as well. I try not to play my own stuff that much, So playing a few out the book
somewhere, and it's you do. I mean, it's definitely something that you have to think about when you're playing any gig or a show.
Well, that's it. Yeah. I used to be like, I'm sure we all were at one point. We didn't want to play the Dark Island and things like that because we didn't ask for it for so much. But I've just totally changed now. If somebody asks for that, they've asked for it for a reason. They like the tune. It means something to them, or they wouldn't have bothered asking for it. So at least we can do as the courtesy of playing these popular tunes for people that want to hear them.
Absolutely, and some of them. I mean, although you may have, there was that kind of stigma as not again, but you've just got to make it your own. And enjoy it. And if you can do that, then you'll never get tired of playing it. So.
Absolutely, it's a definite way to just keep things going and do it away. But it seems the first lockdown there we've done. When I started, I'd done 150 days in a row, playing a wee tune every day, or a set of tunes or whatever. Sometimes there was 2 or 3 sets of tunes in a day actually. But so I tried never to repeat a thing. And I'm at day 41 now of the second lockdown, which is quite scary, really, because I was thinking, we'll not get anywhere near what we did the last time. But when you think it, another 9 days, and that's us a third of the way there again. So But I'm just always delighted just now when somebody sends me a set or sends me something new, so I've got trying to keep it original.
Yeah.
I can't remember who said to me, I think it was Paul Anderson, the fiddle player, said, if you keep this going, you'll be playing Wee Willie Winkie at some point in time.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I did a wee stretch there. I did a whole week of no repeats for all my shows, and it's an excellent exercise.
Oh yeah,
as to
yeah.
what's in your brain, and I did an appeal for requests in advance. So there was a form on the website, and people filled it in and stuff. So it wasn't just requests on the night. People are complaining my microphone's a bit low. I'm just checking everything to make sure it's all right. You can let me know if it's okay now. I've turned it up a bit. It was an excellent exercise, and I don't think I could keep it going for any much longer in a prolonged period of time, purely because it took a lot of energy just to make sure that you're remembering everything, and I made a program up for each night just to ensure it, and I had spreadsheets going and all sorts of things.
Yeah, it takes a long time even to make the programs up, when you start doing that kind of stuff.
But it turned out my last show was an hour longer than I intended it to be, because there was still so much I still had to play. So at least,
that's great.
And there was plenty left as well. So I might have another stab at that. But whether I can do a whole week and not repeat the ones I played before, I don't know.
It's unfortunately for me, I didn't actually write down and keep a note of the 150. I seem to remember the 150, and I just managed not to repeat stuff.
You'll need to watch them all again.
Yeah, imagine it. Well, they're actually all on YouTube. They're on my YouTube channel as well.
If there's anyone out there that's willing to compile a list for Peter and go through all his tunes and
that'd be great.
There'll be an award from you at some point.
There'll be free CDs and everything.
Yeah, that's it. Excellent stuff. Well, do you want to go and play another tune for this?
Yeah, I thought so. And I thought what I would do this time is I'm going to play you a wee slow air that I wrote through lockdown, because I like slow airs as well. And as you know, Box Blues, we tend not to get round to it very much, and it tends to be always associated with the fiddle, but I like slow airs as well. And this one I wrote, and I called it NHS Shetland. I wrote it just in kind of appreciation of what all the staff were doing and up there, but in a way now it's become a kind of tribute to everybody that's been involved and lost loved ones and everything right through this whole nasty pandemic. So it's NHS Shetland, and when we were doing that at the time, I done about 4 or 5 live concerts, and my wife's Karen, she said, why don't we try and raise a wee bit for charity? So we managed to raise over £8,000 for NHS Shetland as well, which was really good, just thanks to all the generosity of all the listening public out there that donated, and it was amazing. There was like wee donations coming in from Australia and things, and wee stories like somebody saying, I was in Shetland, I'm from Australia, and I fell and cut my toe on the beach, but the hospital really looked after me, So it's fantastic, when you think of that way, So
absolutely.
I have to excuse my squeaking chair. I'm needing some WD-40 here.
Yeah, I'm the same. We've got our chairs from the same shop, I think.
Squeaky chair. So this is NHS Shetland.
Very pretty tune. I like that.
So, that one is in book 2.
That's in book 2. So, see that?
Oh, okay. Look at that handsome fellow. Put my wellies on.
Gorgeous. I love that.
I had to keep the wellies on that day.
You would do. You know, we weren't swimming in the sea that day. You do a lot of swimming, don't you?
Well, we tried to go once a week, Karen and I. We tried to go swimming. What do they call it now? It is wild swimming, but there's no other option because there's no swimming pools open. So. It was the coldest we'd ever been last week, to be honest.
I'd imagine.
When it was snowing outside, and once you were in, it was okay. But it was even the seals had a kind of funny look in their face, looking at you as if to say "nutter," you know. That was it.
Yes. It's not my idea at the moment of a good time, but fair play to you.
Yeah, it's good. So that wee years in the new book. It's been quite popular. That one. It's been nice.
Good. Yeah, I think it's definitely. I'm pretty confident I'll maybe ruin it in my own special way once I get a copy of it.
Excellent.
Cool.
So, but so it's been strange. When you think back to the days that we grew up in, we were nearly playing 4 or 5 nights a week all the time, weren't we? We were out somewhere. Mm-hmm. And even when we were learning, there was accordion clubs everywhere. We used to go all over the place, you know. I was brought up in Crawford John in South Lanarkshire, and my local club there was Lismahago, an accordion club. But we used to go to bigger club and Peebles, and there was clubs everywhere at that point in time. Colburn and a lot of clubs all over the place, and that was a great way for us to learn. Going and watching guest artists, you know, and just sitting in awe. There was a club at Carlops that used to run occasionally. Robin Brock, that sadly passed away there just recently. Robin used to run the wee night at Carlops, and because he had all his contacts, the guest artists were always just amazing. He had the original Jim Johnson band put together basically to do a night and things like that. And that's where I saw Bobby McLeod playing with the Jim Johnson band, bagging him and things. And it was great. Great to see all these things, you know. Yeah,
it must have been a good time to be around. I mean, it's I was, you know, just a wee bit younger than yourself, so so a lot of the time, you know, we weren't that busy ourselves, you know, doing the touring circuit and stuff. That it's very rare we got to see other bands playing, if I'm honest. From that reason alone, but. There was quite a lot of bands that I would have liked to have seen had I been around at the time. But I was a little bit late
when I was younger, and the people that were new in the scene at that point was like Robert Blackway's band, and but our big inspirations were like Ian MacPhail and Jim Johnson and things. Yeah. But it was good at the time. It was about that time though that it started to be that everybody kind of started playing with everybody. But I can remember times that bands did have their kind of set lineups. The big bands did have their set lineup.
Yeah.
And then it came through, after I'd been playing for about 5 or 10 years, it started this thing, folk just phoning up, would you come and play with me for a night, and would you do a broadcast with me, and all that. Yeah. And that changed it, because, it did for me anyway, because I can remember right back on I can remember the dance music, when you used to turn on and hear Kate Dalrymple, and it was a game to work out who the band was.
Yeah.
And you could tell very easily, quite a lot of the time, because there was so many bands going about with their distinctive sounds, wasn't there?
Exactly,
Johnny Ellis, and you could tell that immediately, and then Bill Black, and people like that. These bands all had their very, very individual styles, and you could tell everybody, the Wallach Moore, anybody, whoever came on, you just kind of knew who it was. Yeah. And now sometimes I'd struggle a wee bit to do that.
Yeah, I think quite often I take the floor recording, they just take a step to the right and change instruments, and
yes.
It's there is. I mean, I've never done take the floor on my own name. I did one with my granddad's band, and we definitely, because we were all related to each other, we had a pretty strict lineup. And it never really, it never changed all the time I was in the band anyway. We might have reduced in numbers, but we never replaced anyone. So we like to think we had a kind of distinctive sound, but it's not really been a big ambition of mine to do a Take the Floor for that reason. Is that it's generally, especially if it has been for a long time with the same band with a different lead player, playing the same kind of accordion as the one from the last week. So it's very difficult to
oh well, if you ever fancy a crack, we should get together. I'm not playing second box with anybody now. So.
Well, I wouldn't mind, but I would prefer it if as you say, it was my band that I could easily go out and do a gig the next week with, and have the same sound, And I think that's what's missing, is that that idea of having that loyal group of guys around you. And I've got that with my band Tweed. We've had the same lineup for nearly 10 years, but it's we're not Take the Floor material at all. We'd probably get shown the door pretty quickly. But
you know something? That when I look back at the gigs that we had, even when there was gigs for youngsters like us coming through at the time, that you got taken on board and you got booked for a village dance and a shepherd's dance, or all these society things that don't seem to really exist the same now. No. These kind of, it's a changed audience, obviously. But some of the things we used to play were hilarious, And I remember playing at a shepherd's dance in Durry's Deer, that famous air that's a beautiful tune, Durry's Deer. Mm-hmm. But I remember playing at a dance there one night, a shepherd's dance, and first prize in the raffle was a sheep and 2 lambs, living ones. Wow. And second prize was a cow. And I always thought, how am I going to get that home? If I win that thing tonight. So, but and it was really funny, because I remember somebody had a thing going on Facebook there just not that long ago. What's the funniest raffle prizes you've ever seen at things?
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
And see, when you saw it, some of the things that just brought back so many memories to you. There was always a pair of tights, and you always seemed to be a man that won them. It was really,
and the smellies.
So it's quite funny.
Excellent. Yeah, that's amazing. And I think a lot of the time, a lot of these dances went by, and a lot of the problem, and I'm probably being negative and I shouldn't be, but is the door tickets stayed the same price, but the cost of living didn't, and that's always been a factor in the size of bands that they could afford to pay for, or the standard of band as well. And
I think that happened with like the accordion clubs and things as well, didn't it? £2 or £3 to get in, plus a pie at half time or something like that. Where else would you get anything like that for a night's entertainment? You just wouldn't.
And the band would come, and hundreds of miles to come for a relatively small reward, and it's very difficult for people to justify that. And that's how the session musicians came about, because they could get somebody local to play with, rather than taking a whole band across and having 2 or 3 cars going across the country or whatever. And I
can't remember the exact details of this, but I remember reading an article once, and it was about piping. And in Australia, All Australian Piping Championship 100 years ago, for instance, say, if I'm just rhyming off things here, but a long time ago, the prize money was £1 or something like that. Yeah. And the Open Golf Championship, the prize money was also £1.
Yeah.
And then 100 years later, the piping was 50 quid or something.
Yeah.
And the golf was £1.5 million or something like that.
And a BMW, and if you get all in one.
So it just shows you poor old trad music suffers even down under.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, it's kind of universal all around. But it's definitely a factor, and it's not all about the money, as we've kind of found out over the last year, because it's we're certainly not getting rich from this carry on, but at least we're kind of exploring new things and having fun and keeping people happy.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's entertaining.
It's going to be so difficult, isn't it, for accordion clubs and festivals and all that to start again, because so much it's the socially distancing thing. Yeah. And if you had an accordion club with a hall that you need really to try and fill it to make it worthwhile to have anybody there, and all of a sudden you can only have a quarter of the audience in because they've all to be sitting however many meters away from each other, it's just not going to be viable. And the one I was thinking about the other day, I thought about weddings and things. When we get back to weddings or playing for them, if they're still socially distancing, how can we as Ceilidh bands or Scottish dance bands or dance bands, whatever way you want to put it, what are we going to get these people to do?
You couldn't even do an online thing. It's right from the very core of the Ceilidh. You can't do Ceilidh dances. And yeah, we had a go at some. Maggie was working, doing some music and stuff in schools during the summer holidays last year. During the lockdown kind of time, there was a lot of key workers kids in schools and youth hubs and stuff, and so she got me in to do some bits and pieces on my box, and just to kind of change it up a bit. And it's just I was trying to devise some kind of socially distant Ceilidh dances, and
well, my wife Karen was suggesting things like a Scottish hokey cokey, and then we said, the birdie dance. Oh no, but you have to dance in a circle at the end. Oh no, you'll just have to dance around your handbag at that point.
The slosh all night. That's what it is.
The slosh. That takes you back, doesn't it? Oh my.
Certainly not far enough.
Yeah. They used to do a variant on it called the alley cat.
That was for the second round for people who...
Second round was the alley cat.
Didn't want to lose again,
Very funny. But then obviously I went through and started playing with other bands and things, and then I played piano with Ian McPhail for a couple of years, and that was a real good learning curve, that one, obviously, because the guys have been there and done it so often, and very inventive arrangements and things, so it was quite... you had to fairly work in that band. You didn't get it took no prisoners when it was
the pioneering stuff, and it has to be the bang on what's on the music, or
so it was very good. But I was lucky and got away abroad with Ian quite a number of times. And
were you over in Brazil and stuff with them?
I done that one. Yeah, I was over. We were away for 3 weeks once. We done Brazil and Uruguay the year I was there as well. So that was it was great fun. Brazil, we done Rio de Janeiro and Sao Paulo.
Wow.
And I ended up on a tune with the pipe band in Montevideo. Montevideo had their own pipe band, the Montevideo City Pipes and Drums. So did Sao Paulo, actually. But it always made me laugh. You got there, and here was this pipe band in the full Highland kit with the feathered bonnets, everything, and better dressed than half the bands at home,
Yeah.
And the pipe major, he was third generation Uruguayan, but his name was Jimmy Stewart. It was magic.
That's incredible. You just, I mean, the whole world we were kind of nobody was safe from the Scots, and they were from like when everyone was migrating around the world and stuff, and we've kind of reached every single corner of the world, and
the diaspora is absolutely enormous. And I remember when we arrived in Uruguay, and I think it was like a Friday night we were supposed to be playing all that, but it got cancelled and shifted to the Saturday night because Castro was coming over to have a meeting or something like that. So he wanted the hotel, so we got bombed out to the next night.
Well, I think I remember Ian telling that story at something I was at.
It's the things that happened were quite. And then I lost my air tickets at Buenos Aires on the way home.
Oh.
Thought I was going to end up stuck in Argentina. And it was one of these ones where the policeman took me into an office and he said, $50 and we'll give you a new one. Right. And I said, I only got $50. And he said, how much have you got? And I said, $15. He said, oh, that'll do. Gee whiz. Yeah. A different life, that one. So.
There's lots of lovely comments coming in.
That's good.
Things, so,
there's not too many people telling us to get off air yet.
No, I mean it's their job. At the end of the day, if they want, they don't want to.
Yeah, they've got to switch. Do you not think when people come in with moany comments, I'm almost like, what are you moaning for? You don't have to watch this, you know.
Exactly. Just send them a link to some other musician.
Yeah, there you go. Go and watch somebody else.
No, it's yes. I mean, the whole touring with the band thing is such a wonderful experience, and I do love it. It's just having these stories, you know, and people. In my experience, people want to hear it as well. There's a time and a place for us to sit and play tunes for hours on end, but the whole program's called Blethers. So I like the fact that we can tell stories and.
Absolutely, and I think we've been so lucky, haven't we, over the years? I mean, some of the places I've ended up in, the burn suppers that I've done in Bangladesh. Did you go out that way? Did you go out?
I've never gone that way. No, my pal Stuart Walker ended up doing them, and then I think Raymond Chuk was took over from him.
Right, okay, yeah, I done the Bangladesh once, and I done Hong Kong one year, and I done a couple in the Middle East as well, and they were all absolutely fascinating things to do, you know, and just as you say, it wasn't just all about the playing in the end either. You got there and you saw cultures and you saw what was happening with things. And there was one time out in Bangladesh, Davy Vernon, the accordion player, and I went out together actually. We had a real good fun. We had a race on rickshaws playing the accordions once through Dhaka city. That's amazing. So he was playing away and I was playing away, and these poor wee chaps pedalling away like blazes in front of him. You know. But that was the Dhaka days, and no, it was great. I remember getting this snake show once as well. This guy came with snakes, and I don't know if he choked in his little chanter thing that he was playing or whatever, but the snakes got out of control and they came shooting across the courtyard, and I ended up on top of the guy's new Range Rover, and gee whiz. So there's kind of strange things that happen. And the first time we went to Bangladesh, it was 35 years ago or something, when you could do these kind of things, they asked us to take the McSween's haggis and smoked salmon with us in a suitcase. Yeah. So we did that for them, and unfortunately got lost on the way there. Oh. We arrived in Bangladesh, but no haggis and smoked salmon. But it turned up 4 days later, and it had been sitting on a runway in Dubai. So it kind of walked into the airport itself, honking. And then they gave I always remember these oat cakes. They looked absolutely beautiful. And they'd asked the chef in the Dhaka Hilton to make these oat cakes. And he obviously got, and if I took a bite of it, I thought, oh my goodness, what's happened here? And what he had done was he had substituted the salt with sugar. Oh. Because he had seen the recipe and thought, salt, that can't be right. You must have to put sugar in it. So sweet oat cakes. Wow. So so we had a lot of fun. Really, really good.
Yeah, it's superb. And most of my travels have all been to Cyprus. I'm usually over there 3 or 4 times a year doing different events and things, and all sorts of different musicians coming over with me. It's always fabulous, and it's quite funny. One of the times I was there, not the last time, but the time before, I had Duncan, who's my fiddle player, with me, along with Andy Lowe, my piper, and he. We just got to the airport, and we were staying with a couple of pals, and they just couldn't get over the fact that we just landed in Cyprus. I hired a car, and I just drove straight to these people's houses in the middle of the hills without any sat nav or anything else.
Yeah, I know what it was.
It's just grand to be able to have that relationship with somewhere. It is, and it's And I think it's only once I've actually been there that I used my own money to pay for my ticket in 30 or 40 trips over there over the years. So it's wonderful.
Well, I always tell a lot of the kids when I'm teaching in the schools up here, if you really stick in at things, you will get the opportunity to do things that you would never have done. I don't know if the international travel is as big a thing now. Well, it's not just now, is it? It's had it. Yeah, but I'm sure that'll come back. But I can't remember. I added it up once now. I'm nearly about 40 countries or something like that, and I hadn't paid to go to any of them. I'd been flown there and possibly paid to play, and I said to them, well, you don't get opportunities like that every day. That's just... so music's been really quite kind, and I've never had a planned route for what I've done in my life. I've just been kind of fortunate. I've kind of fallen from one thing into another thing, and none that's made me a millionaire, I hasten to add.
Not yet.
No, I wouldn't think. I think it's getting too late now, actually.
You'll not be able to spend it in time for you now.
No, that's it. So it's been really good, and just getting to it. And obviously, when up here, there was a lot of wee trips over to Norway and things like that. And that's a beautiful country and all that as well. And it was interesting because I was watching somebody else doing a wee interview about it the other night, and they were speaking about Norway and things and Finland and places. And a lot of their own traditional music's very hidden. You don't see it very openly or easily, and they don't seem to listen to it very much themselves. It's all like country and western and imported stuff that they listen to. Because we're always just blown away when some really good Scandinavian accordionist comes along and plays you the stuff, but back home they don't do that much in their own homelands.
I suppose if you compare it to our own industry, it's kind of a small market compared to the general music industry as a whole. And if you put a country and western band on the Barrowlands, or whatever, it would sell out in seconds. So it's maybe relative.
Definitely something in marketing there, though, isn't there? Because when you look at Ireland, the way they marketed Irish music is famous all over the world. And when you look at it in America, it's as big in some cities in America as it is actually in Ireland. And I think there's a bit of the Scottish thing, isn't there? We're very kind of... We don't like to push ourselves into folks' faces all the time kind of stuff. I think there's a bit of that just genuinely in us. That we're not very good at it sometimes. But of course, when somebody does market something, everybody thinks it's fantastic. So it just proves the point. We do need to push ourselves a wee bit more sometimes.
So I mean, when it comes to like St. Patrick's and things, I guess Guinness were probably key players in getting Irish music around the world. Where we maybe could do with a Scottish brand to do something similar, But
hey, Iron Brew got his act together.
Oh, exactly. What are they playing at? Or any of the whiskey giants, I suppose.
Absolutely.
Who knows? So have you got one more tune to play us?
Well, I thought, I'm not in a hurry here at all. But the thing is, the one I thought about was when we just spoke about Scandinavia. There, an awful lot of people up in Shetland do like the Scandinavian stuff, and quite a few times I've been asked to write something for somebody, a commission or something, and they ask for it in the Scandinavian style. So this is one that I wrote. It's a kind of wee Scottishy thing for a lady called Jill Hibbert. Jill was the PE teacher up at Bray School, and they asked me to write a tune for her, and they called it "You're a Star, Mrs. Hibbert," but they said, can you write something in the Norski kind of it's always the Norski, but I would say Scandinavian thing. So it's a wee kind of Scandinavian polka Scottish thing. So I'll give you that now and see what you think. And if you find yourself singing along, that's amazing because there's no words to it. So, but enjoy. So here's this one, just a wee bit something different.
That's a cracking wee tune. I like that.
Just a wee kind of joyful thing.
Cool.
Happiness, a happiness polka.
The happiness, but it does. It's very jolly, and there's been a few people saying it's a lovely tune and cheerful, catchy.
Oh well.
And he says one of the best dances ever. And then Maureen Ritchie's asking if you've ever played it on the bagpipes.
No, that one. No, it's not on the bagpipe scale, so I don't had it that one.
Yeah, a lot of people. There's only one octave on the bagpipes, and it's doesn't really lend itself to going much further than the 9 notes it's on it, isn't it?
That's right. 9 notes with a flattened seventh.
Yeah.
So, and which is really interesting. Actually, you say that as well. The other day there was a lady sent me from Australia a set of tunes that they played in the pipe band. Vivian sent me them over, and it was great because they arrived and the first tune was Waltz and Matilda, but of course it was on a pipe scale, so the second part has to change a wee bit, and sometimes I don't think that works very well when we try to change other tunes onto the pipes, but that one actually worked quite well. It sounded actually better than the original, I think. And what was the second tune? The Road to Gundaday, Ganaday, whatever. And I thought, yeah, Ganaday. But I thought I'd heard it somewhere before, and I thought, so I ended up googling it, and it was a Slim Dusty country song. The country singer Slim Dusty from an Australian country singer. So I had heard it before somewhere. So, but it was really nice to get a wee set of different tunes to play, just a different setting, you know. So it was really good. But if anybody fancies that wee tune, that's in book 2, but not in the pipe scale, I'm afraid.
I'm just answering people's questions because people because a lot of people are just generally interested in what we're doing.
Absolutely, I'm not in a hurry, so don't worry about it.
Oh, no, that's good. Jesse was asking if you used Sandy McConaughey with the Dunfield band. I knew Sandy. I don't know if he's still around or not. He's an older chap.
No, I know that name as well. Yeah.
The Dunfield dance band. So it would have been from the back of Forest.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I lived in Carbridge for a couple of years. You see, I stayed.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I stayed there for a couple of years after I'd been in Edinburgh, and then I was up there, and then I was back down in South Lanarkshire, and then I moved up to Shetland after that. So I've been up here 26 years now or something, so it's pretty well.
I love Carbridge.
But Carbridge is a lovely place, yeah. We had some great times there as well. I used to play in the hotel, doing a lot of the coach party work and things, you know, and it was good. Yeah, it was a good, a lot of nice people in that area as well.
Very much so. They're a great community, and we normally play in the cairns hotel. The wee pub.
Yeah.
And,
Lovely wee place, isn't it? That was it. The bottom of the road I stayed in. I stayed in Station Road.
All right. Yeah.
Just up the side of the old bridge there.
Yeah.
And it was great fun. Yeah, yes, I'd done Hogmanay there for about 3 or 4 years in a row, I think, at one point. And there's pictures of me standing dressed as Santa Claus piping on top of the bridge and all this kind of thing. So health and safety would have none of it.
Spud's there in regular attendance on that bridge. Maybe not in Santa outfit, but he's there quite regularly, standing on that bridge. And
he's a fellow.
So it's there's a lot of characters. Even Station Road alone, there's more characters than The Simpsons. And it's a fabulous bunch of people. And,
well, Spud the Piper. Spud when I used to do a wee Ceilidh show thing on a Monday night in the Carbridge Hotel, and Spud's father, Ian Fraser, was the piper in that show at that time, and Ian used to be the pipe major of the Granton pipe band, I think it was.
Respected piper.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if Granton exists now, but is it Aviemore and Badenoch? They've got one band all together or something. Badenoch's just Bay, that's right. But I remember Ian there, and Mary Louise Napier, the classic player and singer. Of course, her boys are done very well, Hamish Napier, and they done really well. And in fact, I tutored at the very first Spey Fèis. When they started the Spey Fèis, and there was these 2 little boys got brought along. One of them was old enough to come, and I can't remember who's older. Is it Hamish or Finlay? What's the older one?
Finlay's older.
So Finlay got to come to my accordion class, but Hamish got sent away to stay with his auntie or something because he wasn't older. So I did teach Finlay the accordion for a week. So it's amazing when you see what they've got in the folk world now. They're doing pretty well for themselves. So, but they were great days in Carbridge. They were really nice up there, and beautiful place, beautiful area to live in. And
I always said, because I've been playing in Aviemore in that area since 2003 or something, and I've had residencies until March last year, I never really had the notion to move to the area.
No.
I was quite happy to go and work there, because it was always living, half an hour away was quite close enough. And away from the tourists for my own day-to-day life stuff.
Just get away,
but Carbridge was on the list. If I ever did move to that area, it would be that village. It's always fabulous.
Yeah, I played a couple of years there with Maggie Adamson at the Granton Hogmanay street party thing.
Yeah, I was wondering how it was a good gig, because I've always been frightened of playing outside at Hogmanay.
Well, it was absolutely freezing. I wouldn't say I wasn't playing like Will Star by the end of it. Anyway, that's for sure. More like Will that had fallen in the ditch by the end of it. That was, but it was. No, it was quite cold, and it's, as you know yourself, it's quite hard to play with gloves on and things. And saying that, at least it gave me an excuse when the Blethers come along. You say, well, it's so difficult to play with gloves on. But no, it was good. But an enormous amount of people turn up for that one as well. It's a huge event, and so I hope these things all get going again sometime. So when we were down, when the kids were quite small, Grace was wee, and Angus was just a baby, I think, and Sonny, our oldest boy, he was there. He was loving it. He thought it was great fun. He was 15, 16, and he thought this was great. But we were taking a run up Aviemore and went to show them the reindeer. You know how you can go to the reindeer farm? And unfortunately it was shut, and there was not a reindeer in sight. So I'd come all the way from Shetland promising this wee girl that she would see a reindeer, and then she didn't. That was that.
You just know to speak to the right local, and they'll know where the herd is on the hill somewhere.
They probably know where they are somewhere. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the ones in the actual reindeer centre. Yeah, it's a nice wee place actually. I've been in a couple of times with the kids. And
yeah, it's good in that area. Mm-hmm. So it's but there's a lot of nice things. And I mean, Bill Crawford used to stay up at Bewley. Remember, Bill had the deer park up there
for him for a few years.
Oh, did you? Aye. I mind going up there once. Well, that's right. I forgot you worked for the Highlander Music, didn't you?
Yep, back when I had a proper job.
Was that when it was based, when they had the kind of...
Hard.
Yeah, Muir of Art, that's right. Because all the early Fustra albums that I'd done, they were all in Highlander.
Yeah, I remember it's the ones with the puffins on was quite a big deal.
Yeah, they went quite well, I think.
Yeah, he was pretty good at. I mean, he had an extremely good roster of clients.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, Highlander Music were the biggest, or one of the biggest CD distribution companies in Scotland, and I mean he basically mostly catered for traditional music.
Yeah.
We had about 20,000 different CDs in that place.
That's amazing.
And, when I was 18, I went to work for him for a few years, and it was basically just a case of getting orders together for mostly either music shops that were barely surviving, or mostly tourist shops, just like.
I think that's one of the hard things now, isn't it? These music shops have all disappeared.
Yeah.
All the little shops that sold CDs and stuff like that are really gone.
Yeah, we've probably lost about 15% of our CD sales, because most CDs would be sold at gigs and stuff.
Yeah.
But there was always that, account that came in once a month that said how many went to the shops and things, and we do miss that.
Yeah.
The first 100 CDs would always go to William.
That's right.
That's the first 100 taken care of. So that's a lot of the production costs kind of sorted.
Do you know? I remember one of our albums with Fustra, because I played with Fustra for about 14 years. In fact, that was the point in time when I was playing with Fustra that they brought all their albums out. I don't know if they've ever brought an album out since I left, to be honest.
Maybe one.
But I can't mind what they've brought out. But in the time that I was there, we'd done about 5 or something like that, and there was one of them. It was even advertised on the television. It was all decided to have a.
I think the puffin one was on the TV. I think. Did they not animate the puffins?
I think so, and I think Robbie Shepherd was the voiceover or something like that.
Yeah, right. I was working for Brazil at the time,
which is quite incredible. Which is quite amazing that to see that because we hadn't seen that for a long time. Something kind of Scottishy themed on telly kind of stuff. I think so. So they were good days.
There's a few channels on Sky now that you could probably do these kind of things, and I know Brandon McPhee does a show. I've not actually seen it because I don't have Sky, but so there is, or I don't use Freeview or anything. I just got my computer. That's all I do. But so I think there are channels. I don't know how big the audience is, but back then you're talking about probably in the adverts between Emmerdale and that kind of thing. When you could get adverts like that. Whereas a lot of these kind of niche channels might work for a certain audience, but these times when there was only 4 or 5 channels to choose from, you got kind of a decent reward from that normally. So.
Yeah, I was going to. I think have we got time for another tune?
I'm here all day, mate.
All right. I think before I have to go, think about another tune. There was another commission that's in the new book as well. It's a tune called "Beer O'Clock" with Robert Henry.
Is it now?
And it's a two-step.
Is it that time already?
Yeah, there you go. Beer O'Clock. That's a funny thing for me to write. I actually stopped drinking alcohol about 7 years ago now. Wow. And I've just never. Unfortunately, it was just not been nice to me. It was so I decided after some persuasion to, and I feel good. I'm delighted I did. So writing a beer o'clock's just a tune to me now.
Yeah.
At one point in time, it had been 3 days lost. So anyway, I'll play you this wee one. It's a wee 2-step. Robert's a great guy. Robert Jimison has buses from Cullivo and Yell in Ireland, and just a great guy. He's always there when we're doing festivals and up Helias and all that stuff. So really, Gordon Jimison, the accordion player's brother. Okay. So here's a wee Boston 2-step for you since I'm up there in Shetland. Is it windy with you today, by the way? It's howling a gale here today.
Yeah, it's a bit windier, aye. But
Yeah, I had to put hold on the swimming today because it's. I think I possibly would have ended up in Bergen or somewhere.
the way you travel these days.
Yeah, here's a wee thing for you. There we go. A wee kind of Shetland sounding one. Yeah. So that was Beer O'Clock with Robert Hendry.
I like it. I'll need to learn that one too. So is that in the new book too?
That's in the new book too. Yeah. So we've got. What have we got? What have we got?
Come on, let's see your wares. Come on, show yourself.
Book one.
It's book one. I've got that one.
Book two.
Book two. Don't got that one yet.
Which will be in the post too. Don't worry.
Cool.
And then newest CD.
The newest album is called Stepping Up.
That was the first one we brought out, called Out of the Shadows.
Cool.
Second one we brought out, called Into the Light.
Nice.
So, they're all for sale on the website, all the books and everything, and if you would like to buy one, that would be fantastic. Yeah. That'll help me start getting the Christmas fund together for the kids again.
Oh, you're needing that.
Always. The older they're getting, it's getting more complicated, isn't it? iPads and things next.
Especially when they've got everything already.
Yeah, I know. Very, very difficult.
Mine are all at the stage, whereas if they get vouchers, they're delighted.
Yeah.
And there's no imagination involved, but at least they can use their own imaginations then as to what they want to get. So
absolutely.
But who knows what's ahead of us anyway? And like we say, they've got everything they need already. So it's difficult to give them anything else, and we're running out of space of anything else.
Yeah, I know.
More gadgets and gizmos, and there's not enough holes in the back of the telly for all their different consoles.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah. Gee whiz, it's all very complicated nowadays. Very complicated. But that's great.
Yep. Okay, well, let's. I think we should probably look at rounding things up because people have probably got things to do, and we're distracting them because they're probably sitting at home procrastinating as much as we are. So
yeah, they're probably sitting there thinking, will this pair ever get half of here?
I can't find the off switch. Cool. Well, thanks for joining me. I'm going to.
No, thank you, Graeme.
I'm going to embarrass myself and play one of your tunes in front of you.
Oh, fantastic! That would be super.
Before we go, can you tell us a story about Sandy's Shetland Stag Week?
Sandy's Shetland Stag Week. That was composed for Sandy Leggett, 1997, I think it was. either 96 or 97. I was up playing up Ceilidh with my band. It was before I'd moved to Shetland. And Sandy came up and he was playing second box on that trip. There was Sandy, Andrew Knight, Graeme Jimison, and who was playing the piano? Was it Russell Hunter or was it Brian Morrison? One of the two. And anyway, we got up there and Sandy was getting married when he went home the next week. So we had Sandy's Shetland Stag Week. So he had a whole week of us in Shetland. So you can imagine it was a quiet week.
It would be,
very, very quiet every night. And on the Monday night, we always used to go, well, they still do. They have a big accordion club the Monday night before the Tuesday event, which is up Ceilidh. And all the bands, the visiting bands and all that are up, all go to it. So it's quite an accordion club. It's quite an occasion in a way because you've probably got about 10 broadcasting bands all playing in one night kind of style thing, which is quite something. Yeah. And we went there that night and I played the tune. That's where it got its premiere, Sandy's Shetland Stag Week. So Sandy's bit of music had just SS, what did it have? Sandy's Shetland Stag, SSSW written at the top of it, which sounds like something out the war or something. But anyway, he and then it became what it was for. It was just for his Stag Week, and that was a tune I wrote many, many years ago. And there was one person said to me, well, I see your idea there, but it doesn't really work. I'm not sure if that's a tune that will catch on or not. So, and it's really funny. It's been one of the ones that has caught on.
Absolutely, it's a fantastic tune. It's, I mean,
I've
known about it for years, and I've never learned it, and I didn't know what it was called. It's just always that tune that you've heard so many times, and it's just there. But then I just turned the page in your book and it's there, and I was like, oh, that's just got to go in there.
But I suppose that's the joy of music, though, isn't it? We all like slightly different things. If we all liked exactly the same thing, there'd only be one tune in the world, and that would be it.
Well, exactly. But it's
so it's good.
It's got everything in it.
So that was what Sandy's Shetland Stag Week was all about.
No, I like it. I wasn't sure. So Sandy like it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's how we go with it.
I actually, because I played second accordion, you see, in Sandy's albums for the Casloch Ceilidh band he had. So I played second accordion in all his albums as well. So it was great fun. All good fun.
Yep. I'll give it a wee go just now and see how we get on. There you go. Hang on, I'll just switch it on. There you go. You're turned on.
Well done, sir. Well done. Sounds really good in the button box, actually. Oh, sounds magic.
There's no tune that doesn't sound good in a button box.
That's it.
Thank you for joining me. I'm going
to
sign off now. Thank you very much for everyone for tuning in today. It's been fabulous numbers. We've got 75 sitting there just now, so that's great for an afternoon show. So thank you very much for tuning in all over the world. There's Mary just tuning in late as usual over in California. I don't know what time it is in California, but you've probably got a good excuse. And
breakfast time.
I would imagine so. Yeah, I don't know what day it is either. But
imagine that. Just sitting down to a nice breakfast and you and me come up on the screen.
Oh, I'm telling you. Okay, thank you very much for your time today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you hopefully not too far into the distant future. We might see each other in person.
Thanks very much for asking me, Graeme. You've been an absolutely stalwart ambassador for Scottish music in the box and everything right through this whole lockdown and pandemic, and well done to you. You've built up a big audience and kept it all going. Good.
You've done a pretty good job yourself. So between us all, we're having a wee stab at it at least, and at least we're practicing if nothing else.
We'll keep the Ceilidh going. We'll keep it going.
Definitely. All the best.
Thanks, Graeme. Thank you.
Cheers, folks. Good day.
Cheers now.
Bye.